dissertation came out in 1966. He got his PhD in 1966. Okay?
Just 1 second. Now you're on film. Who got his dissertation?
Sheikh Tantawi.
Sheikh Sayyid Tantawi.
At Al-Azhar University in Cairo.
No, he was the Sheikh of Al-Azhar.
Yeah.
Oh, the Sheikh of
At
Al-Azhar.
the time, he was just a student. He was just a student in the university. Later, he became the Imam, the Grand Imam.
Okay.
The title of his dissertation was Bani Israel in the Quran and Sunnah. But the political
Use.
environment at the time, in the 60s, was charged against everything that is Jewish, Zionist, or Israeli. Those three names were really bad names, were like an insult. To say someone is a Jew.
No, they were the same.
Yes, they were mixed.
And Jews,
Yes, no distinction.
even if it is rare,
Yeah.
who is the people of Israel? They are Jews.
Uh-huh.
It is not, you don't need somebody to be genius to say.
Uh-huh.
But we come back to say, who is who? When you say who, it comes to the individual. Who is positive? Who is negative? Who like the others? Who hate them? And then the division becomes a fact of life. And in this case, you shall not mix.
Yeah. So, but just to explain, of course, we all know that Zionism is a political movement it's not really a religion. And there are distinctions between Israelites and Jewish people. The Israelites encompasses all the 12 tribes of Israel. Yes, we say there are 10 lost tribes and there's only 2 tribes that are recognized. But Jews are a subset of the Israelite body. One of the tribes are the Jewish people. Anyhow, Dr. Sayyid Tantawi, in his dissertation, titled Bani Israel in the Quran, what he did, which caused so much damage to the psyche, to the Muslim psyche, is that he took all the verses in the Quran that cursed the Jews, demeaned the Jews, put the Jews in bad light.
You shall push me to go back to the text.
Yes, go back to the text
To
and see it. Reread it. And he expounded on those verses in the Quran. وقالت اليهود يد الله مغلولة لتجدن أشد الناس عداوة للذين آمنوا اليهود والذين أشركوا. You know these verses? You've heard these verses? You've heard those verses. قتلت الأنبياء لعن الذين كفروا من بني إسرائيل. So he selected so much of this diatribe, I call it diatribe, and negative verses in the Quran. There's plenty of them. And he highlighted those. He was very liked by the political entity in the Al-Azhar because that was the direction of the government. President Nasser nationalized Al-Azhar. President Nasser, like he nationalized Qanat al-Suez, he nationalized Al-Azhar. He made the Al-Azhar follower of the presidency, of the office of the presidency. You had to be selected by a committee of the president or people around him to become the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. You were no longer selected by the Grand Ulama of Al-Azhar like it was before.
No, he must be nominated by a decree.
Yes.
By a decree from the president.
Thank you. Before that, before 1960, this change, this shift took place in 1960. Ta'meem al-Azhar, they call it in the scholars here at Al-Azhar know that. They say Ta'meem al-Azhar. زي تأميم قناة السويس.
But
nationalization of Al-Azhar.
The name is not correct.
Yes.
Jihadin. nationalized, he reorganized
Exactly.
the status.
You're right. He did reorganize, but the scholars at Al-Azhar call it ta'mim al-Azhar.
Yes.
They gave it that name. But anyhow, you're right. That he reorganized Al-Azhar to make the Grand Imam be chosen by a decree from the president. Where before that,
Un fonctionnaire de l'État.
but before that reorganization, the Imam of Al-Azhar was chosen by a committee of professors at Al-Azhar, and the president was independent of the presidency, and the presidency did not really get involved in it. So it had more independency. And therefore the scholarship that comes out of Al-Azhar was more independent. Now it had to follow what the president's wishes were. Hence comes the dissertation of Mr. or Dr. Said Tantawi with that title, where it expounded on the negative aspects of Bani Israel and played down the positive aspects of Bani Israel. What took place after that is that it obviously became popular. It was popular to insult the Jews based on the Quran, to insult the Jewish people based on that. It became very popular, and it jived with the political environment in Egypt at the time and the enmity towards Israel and all that. Time continues, and Sayyid Tantawi becomes the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. Of course, Sadat had been in power, now he was gone, and Mubarak is in power. And relation between Israel and Mubarak became warmer. And Sayyid Tantawi found himself in a bind, because his main thesis and dissertation is that these people are bad. But the political environment in Egypt is saying, now that you're the Grand Imam, you should really reach out to them. You should shake hands with the Prime Minister at the time. Who was the Prime Minister at the time?
I brought
Yeah.
until his office Rabbi Sirat.
Rabbi Sirat came to visit
Yes.
Tantawi.
But the Prime Minister of Israel
Ah.
at the time that he shook hands with Rabin, when he shook hands with Rabin, newspapers here in Egypt picked on that and said, oh, wait a second. You shook hands with the president or the prime minister of the Zionist entity? That's wrong. What happened to you? Did you change your mind about what you wrote in your dissertation? Because they had a copy of their dissertation and they brought what he said about the Jews. So they said, did the Jews change or did you change? Anyhow, needless to say that much scholarship that was written about the children of Israel.
Finish the sentence.
Was not impartial. It was partial type of scholarship that caused the general psyche of the people to curse the Jews based on the Quran. Okay. Now, hence comes what I tried to do. What I tried to do is to give a fair dealing to the issue, where I put in balance all the positive verses in the Quran and the positive hadith, sahih, by
This
Prophet
is
Muhammad.
not this
Good. Yes.
in that book.
Mm-hmm. See?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I tried to do that, and where I weighted the positive and the negative. And I said, wait a second, the Quran is a very balanced book. It does not just talks about the shortcomings of the Israelites, it also talks about their positive aspects. Oh, another thing.
Excuse me again, because I must give a final confirmation
Okay.
for the half an hour they gave me.
Okay.
Then we want to hear your...
They
Be
want
careful of the carpet.
Yes.
Attention.
I speak with
Yes,
him
ma'am.
about the university in New York, where our Egyptian friend is working. where there is Islamic college.
Oui, oui,
Jewish
Islamic college in.
I'm just wondering if you don't mind, Bridget,
What?
because
I would.
because I'm filming Omar. Excuse me, Omar. Do you want to wrap up what you feel has just been said in these 10 minutes, so that this is sort of a holistic
The gist
clip?
of this whole conversation is to say that, in my mind, as an Islamic researcher, Al-Azhar should be an independent entity. It should not follow the whims of politics. The whims of politics are so damaging to scholarship at Al-Azhar. Al-Azhar should be independent, and it should be endowed by the endowment that is dedicated to Islamic religious studies, like it was. And with that, we will have a more free-thinking Al-Azhar that will help a great deal in improving relations between Muslims and non-Muslims. And we'll take politics out of the picture, rely on authentic Quranic text, and rely on authentic hadith to help give better understanding of Islam. We have extremist groups today that relied on text that was prophesized, religious text that was taken out of context, projected in a way that gives Jews and Christians a bad name, and create enmity between Muslims in one camp, Jews and Christians on the other camp, and take text out of context in the Quran, for example, saying, oh, don't take Jews and Christians as friends, like what we discussed earlier today, where the verse really was taken out of context, and it was in a context where it said to Prophet Muhammad, don't take them as your protectors. But it was mistranslated and mis-exegeted to mean, don't take them as your friend. And hence, any Muslim who takes a Jew or a Christian as their close friend, another Muslim can come and say, oh no, you are now going against the word of Allah in the Quran. Much of that is going on in the psyche of people outside here in the streets of Egypt, the streets of Cairo, and in many parts of the Muslim world, because of the damage that was done in the scholarship. Academia, scholarship, takes place. Within a decade or two, it filters down to the populace. So what we are suffering from today is scholarship that was written 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 40 years ago. Then it just filters down to the psyche of the people. Sort of like organic sites that come on Google, for example. You do it 2 or 3 years ago, and now it organically comes up to the surface. It doesn't come instantly. So just like that's the case, in order to treat that ailment, I call that a disease that has inflicted the Muslim Ummah and the Muslim psyche. And in order to handle that disease, in order to prescribe the cure, we have to do 2 things, at least in my mind. One is to think together about how to reinstate the independence of Al-Azhar as an independent scholarship institution that is not followed, not the follower of the political entity in Egypt. Because politics can influence Al-Azhar in so many different directions. The second thing is to have scholarship that gives credit to Jews and Christians as it is given in the Quran, and to highlight that, and not to sweep that under the carpet like it has been done. Or like it's commonly said, you know what, yeah, Jews and Christians are good as it said in the Quran, but that was back then. That was millennia ago. But the Jews and Christians who live today, they're all kafir. They're all atheists. They're all this, they're all that. So it is, and we've experienced that today with the gentleman that we first visited at Al-Azhar, who was reflecting the hard line. Now, believe it or not, the view you heard this morning, before we went to Professor Bakr Zaki, that view...
He's younger.
Yes.
The hardliner is younger.
Yes.
Notice that first of all.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with age, by the way.
But it's filtered down.
Yeah, it is filtered down. Yes, you're absolutely right. But that view is a view of 80% or even 90% of the people out there. What you heard today in the first meeting. The enlightened view of my professor, Dr. Bakr Zaki Awad, which you heard in the subsequent meeting, which lasted way more than the first meeting.
2 hours.
It was much more generous and much more congenial and so forth.
Much more laughter.
Yes,
There was much more what? There was
Much more laughter. First was
laughter and love.
serious.
Yeah.
And the other ones were laughing all the time.
But we still dealt with serious issues.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Doesn't prevent-
But it was in a
positive
loving
way.
atmosphere. We
In a
felt
loving
it, yes.
atmosphere. And that's really what's important. Love can connect all of us. Based on love. بالحب, as we say in Egypt. كله بالحب. Everything by love. Loving the other person. Coming in terms with our humanity before our religion, because before I was a Muslim, you were a Jew, she was a Christian, we were human beings. Look at how children play with each other. Would a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old say, no, I won't play with you because you're this or you're that? They play innocently with each other. It's when they grow up and then their parents tell them, oh, you know what, don't play with these Jewish kids, you know, they're gonna screw up your mind. Don't stay away from these Christians, or stay away from these Muslims, or stay away from them. We start corrupting these little minds.
Yeah.
But left alone, they would do very, very well. And there is, in my mind, as a Muslim scholar, there is no true renaissance, no true peace or coexistence that can exist in this region of the world or this area without truly respecting and loving the other by loving their religion and loving what they believe, as long as they respect what they believe. So I respect Rabbi Nagin for respecting Judaism. To me, he respects Judaism. He does his best with what he has. With the Torah he has, he does his best. He has the 10 Commandments. If he just live up to the 10 Commandments, I'm very happy. Very, very happy. Okay? I respect, for example, Sister Brigitte, coming from the Catholic Church, for respecting her faith, respecting her tradition. She doesn't have to change to anything for me to accept her. She's just fine. She's enough. Her faith is enough. Her Latin translation of the Tanakh is enough. The Vulgata is fine. It's a great book. It brought to the world so many saints, for heaven's sakes. That one book, the Vulgata. So, she respects her book. I respect her for respecting her book. I also expect people to respect me for respecting Islam, for respecting my book. I have to lend them the same credibility. And with that...
You have our respect and love and appreciation
Thank
and
you.
many other things.
So that's what we all strive for, you know, and that's how we can really build families, build societies, and build nations. And without that, we're going to be in this perpetual strife, perpetual anger, and then perpetual violence. It starts with me as a Muslim saying, you know what, these are kafir. And when I say that, whenever I say, I mean, that's why I say, no, Ahlul Kitab, people of the book, Hasib. Okay, the first gentleman we met was insisting, no, they're kafir. There's nothing I can do with that. They're kafir.
I know. We tried to be nice, but...
Yeah. And the problem was that classification, where he takes it lightly. He says, it's okay to be kafir and I can still coexist with kafir. No. You can coexist with kafir with your tongue, but with your heart, you cannot coexist. With your heart is someone else. And unless the heart is involved, we go nowhere. We go nowhere. So that term caused so much agony, so much anger, and so much violence over the years.
Centuries.
Over the centuries.
Centuries.
Over the centuries, yes.
But still, I mean, I'm hearing
And
that...
still, this is the human being. I am very the human being.
Well, I see proof here. Oh, Bridget, you don't want... I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I mean the good and the bad and the same human being. So it's a permanent fight between the bad and the good, unfortunately.
Yeah. But to classify the bad and the good based on you just being a Catholic, then you're bad, or me being a Muslim, I'm just bad.
I'm speaking not about religion. I'm speaking about
Human nature.
human nature.
Oh, we got human nature to fix too.
Yeah. About religions.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Human nature.
It's fine. It's good.
You have the good and the bad in the human nature. So
Absolutely, we do have that.
I mean,
But what we should base it on action, not on religion. On action.
Like the evil inclination, okay, but not on the text.
excusez-moi, sorry.
Sure, please.
This is proof here, by the way, that... But
I've come here to meet you. Everything around is only that we should meet you better. Because the way you've presented and explained it, we've never had this whole picture of the flow and your place in this big picture. So everything else was only an excuse to get to speak to you.
now we see Omar's place in Egyptian society and academia.
Right, and this is what, on the plane, the ambassador said, I told him about your doctor. He goes, well, what about Tantori? Right away he knows, because he's a scholar of Islam. His doctorate is on Islam.
Yeah. But he didn't look at it in detail.
He did, right.
If he did, he will see what I'm talking to.
So this is our mission for tomorrow, that we have to do tomorrow. If we see Amar Zakari, who is like this, to realize that to create connections, and this will allow us to rush ahead. And yes.
Please continue.
No. Yeah.
One proof, though, Dr. Salman, if you said that it says in the Quran not to take, and it's been misquoted, not to take Jews and Christians as friends, and your friend here, Dr. Ali, is religious Muslim. He even has a slight bruise on his forehead because, as you said, Bridget, he was coming back from Maghrib, and when they pray, when they give dua, they put their...
No, but this is nothing
but
to
I'm
do
just
with
saying-
Dr. Ali. He didn't pray like that because he cannot.
Oh, okay. Oh,
so
okay.
it's not like some Muslims that do it on purpose.
Oh, no, okay, like banging.
Falsely.
Oh, okay.
Falsely.
To show
they
that
pretend.
But still, the point is he's a religious Muslim, and he's married to a
Yes.
Christian.
And he-
So he took
he's
someone as
religious.
his best
Yes.
friend. He took someone as his best friend.
Sure.
So obviously the verse can't mean you can't take as your friend, because Bridget is Dr. Ali's
but you can't take it as
best
a
friend.
friend.
And that's your best friend. So obviously the verse does not mean friendship. It's living proof right here.
Yes,
So
exactly.
if you,
Please.
so now I understood that, and I shall go back to the text to read it.
Yes, please do.
But concerning Tantawi, I should like in 2 minutes to say to you a very funny joke which was exchanged between me and him. He said to me, Ali, I heard إنك بتحب اليهود.
أيوة.
Yes.
قلت له, I know his truth. What is more correct is to say, I don't hate them.
Okay.
I don't
Okay. Hey.
hate
I
them.
don't hate them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that is
Yeah.
Yes.
the key. The problem.
Exactly.
You can like them or not like them, but
Okay.
what's important
Is not to hate.
and what is forbidden, to come back to your theory about religion, what's forbidden for us all is to go to the hate.
Yes.
The hate is really one of the points which you know.
Unfortunately, Dr. Ali, let me tell you something. Many people of religion, or so-called people of religion, measure how close they are to their God, their Lord, by how much they hate the other. That's how they measure.
The other, the
Right.
other.
Ah, yes.
How
So
much
now
they...
I must finish
Yeah.
my, not my speech, but the delivering of some practical thoughts for us, because now I must go
Yes.
after I
No.
You've been
half
so
an hour.
We appreciate your time.
You've been so kind
Really,
to us.
really.
So
Qu'est-ce que
generous.
tu veux dire, chérie? Well, you want to finish? You want to say something?
Yes,
Yes.
they gave me
We
half
wanna
an
hear.
hour, like somebody in prison to make him half an hour. If we now we are with 3 men. What is common? That you are an heir of faith, whatever the faith is, whatever even the way you deal with your own faith. There are different schools, different ways. But if somebody comes to his head the idea to say, I cannot work alone, I must work with the others. The others became in our world today a luxury, meaning a word which can be used in a speech, the others. But it is never fact wise of life to say what to do with the others. The minimum you can do, minimum, is never to hate.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Very beautiful.
The
That's
second
the basis. Okay.
is, have you heard from his mouth to have the first degree of reference?
Yes.
A bad word about your community? No. So don't believe something else.
Don't leave secondary sources.
If you
Go to the
never-
primary source.
Never heard from his mouth
Right.
a negative word about the others. Okay. In this case, you can go to the second step, to be open to the idea to like the others.
Yes.
Is it? But even if the number is limited, we are 4 today. If we 4 can make a common effort to deal with the others, to communicate with the others, your thoughts, my thoughts. That's a big step.
Yes. And it
Meaning
starts.
to spread the idea. Even the simple idea of, we were surprised to find Ali published already a book in April, which he shall have surely
Yes.
a look before.
Mhm.
If I shall ask the help of my friends about this book, and they shall give, I shall make a thought for myself. With these four, if we go ahead, the number shall be multiplied.
You want to write more books?
Yes.
You can do it with my husband.
What?
You can write something together. And Dr. Salem. We'll do something. We'll all do something together.
Yes. This one,
Sequel.
promise.
Time.
An
You have the
orthodox
card inside,
rabbi.
hein? La carte, tu l'as laissée à l'intérieur, chérie, les cartes.
Oui, oui,
Parce
oui,
que je
oui.
vais.
I know.
I shall send you the by email to you,
Thank you
Rabbi,
so much.
and to Rebecca.